A wise old elf once told me, "Do not fall in love with those of the younger, for they are like snowflakes on the morning grass. They may seem beautiful and perfect as you gaze at them in the chill of a frosty morning. However, all too quickly as the sun rises, they melt and disintegrate, leaving nothing behind but water and regrets." But what did the old elf know of my plight? After all, he had never been as young as I was, and I was Mormakar of the songs. I danced among the leaves of the Reichwald forest, singing my songs of joy and of oneness with nature, the Windwalker cadre at my back, and for a few years things were good. Then I saw her, Molly. She stood there perfect in the light of a morning day. I could not imagine someone more beautiful, even amongst my own kind, let alone amongst her mayfly race of mortals. And to her I appeared enchanting and beautiful, as my race often do to the humans. And for a few brief, happy spells of days, we were together, we were young, and we were in love. There could not have been a happier couple dancing amongst the boughs of the Reichwald and the forests of the old world. As time passed, the rest of the Windwalkers began to speak to me of their unease. They told me that Molly dabbled in forbidden magics and strange ways. Whispers began to filter through to me that she had given herself to the darkness of chaos. But of course, youth being what it is, I did not listen to my friends. After all, they were surely only jealous of the love that myself and Molly had found with each other. However, one day they came to me and they brought me an item which I knew belonged to my beloved, and inscribed upon the underside of this item a chalice that I had gifted to her with the unmistakable runes of the Chaos powers. They burnt my eyes to look at them and glowed with an unholy light. Storming through the forest, anger etched on my features, I confronted Molly in a sheltered glade, the rest of the Windwalkers at my back, for the ways of the Chaos gods are mysterious and not for those of mortal minds to fathom. I confronted her and demanded to know exactly what was going on, hoping against hope that there would be some mistake, or that there was still yet a chance for a reconciliation and redemption. But as she turned to me, she laughed cruelly and stared at me with cold eyes that were unlike the soft features of my beloved. I barely recognised her in the creature that stood in front of me. I reached down instinctively for the bow that was strung across me, and as my fingers closed around her, I heard the distant braying and roaring of chaos beasts bursting through the undergrowth as they launched themselves from the trees around me. The clearing became a whirling melee of clashing weapons and steel upon flesh. The groaning cries of my companions, my brothers, filled the trees around me, mixing in an unholy union with the braying of the chaos beasts. When the slaughter had finished, I looked up, my once clean face splattered with the blood of my companions and the foul ichor of the beasts of chaos. They all lay dead, but only I remained. I picked through the remains of their bodies, laying them to rest as best I could, and hoping that I would find the dead body of my beloved, that she had been spared a descent further into the madness of chaos. However, that of her body there was no sign. A slight cough from Thalamir, my once closest friend, alerted me to the fact that there was another survivor, and I bent down over his dying body, cradling his face in my hands. With his last dying breath, he looked up at me and gestured beyond me, past my shoulder, to a path leading out to the clearing. "Mormakar, she has escaped us." I looked down, I felt the regret pour out of me in hot tears. If only I had listened to my friends, perhaps they could have been spared this painful death. I leaned down to him, kissing him on the forehead and begging his forgiveness, and promising that I would wreak a revenge upon upon Molly, or whatever it was that she had become now. But I saw from his glazed eyes that he was gone past the cares of these world. I stood up, feeling numb. It was as though the person I had been had disappeared and had died along with my beloved. And as she had had her place taken by this foul creature of chaos that I later learned would be named by the mortals the Etelka Herzl, the person that I was had been replaced by someone colder, someone with a feeling of numbness spreading throughout their body, and someone who no longer belonged in the Reichwald forest. I turned, and swearing one last oath of vengeance under the witching star, the sign of my birth, I walked from the clearing, turning my back on the forest and all that I had knew, vowing never to rest until I had found revenge for my fallen brothers, until I had found something to erase their death screams and the demonic braying of the hounds and beasts of chaos from my ears. Until that day, I would know no peace, and I would know no rest.